When I think of patterns, I actually think of like the karma almost. Karma is almost like, I don't know if consequences is the right word to use, but things happen in your life. The karma happens in your life because God, universe, is trying to teach you a lesson. It's because of the patterns that you unconsciously created for yourself.
Welcome to the Soul Flow podcast with Steph, Aysha, and Josie. We are spiritual life coaches. Join us in our flow as we share our journey towards our soul's purpose while co-creating a conscious community and raising your vibration. Get ready to meet your highest self and discover your true, unique power. Let's dive right in. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Flow podcast with Steph,
Josie,
and Aysha. And we are here bringing another amazing topic to you, patterns, and how they consistently show up in our lives, in our day-to-day, whether it is on a conscious or unconscious level. We may be aware of our patterns and we may not. And the different ways that it can show up in your life. Let's dive right in, ladies.
Yeah. So when I think of patterns, I actually think of like the karma almost. Karma is almost like, I don't know if consequences is the right word to use, but things happen in your life. The karma happens in your life because God, universe, is trying to teach you a lesson. It's because of the patterns that you unconsciously created for yourself, right? So we all have karma in our life. And it's just being aware of those signs, those karmic signs that keep showing up. And to move through it, the first thing I think is to be aware.
Absolutely. I think another way to describe what you were saying about the karma, it's just like action and reaction, right? And it's just a cycle. When we're doing certain actions and we're believing certain thoughts, they're constantly creating the same reaction, same pattern. And the first thing that comes to my mind is why do we create these cycles? Why do we get stuck in patterns? And the answer to that is safety. That we learned at a very young age, usually it's at the ages of 1 through 7. It could be at any age, but a big part of the psyche, it's usually that age. We learn certain patterns that made us feel safe in our childhood. And then we continue to recreate those cycles, whether it's serving us anymore or not, it's probably not. And it could be sabotaging ourselves in that, but we just continue to recreate it because we feel safe in it. And that's all we know. It's all we're familiar with. And in order to create new cycles, you have to release, make space for new, and then create new patterns.
Yeah, typically it's stemmed from like our parents and how we were brought up, our environment, how we were treated by our parents. If we were neglected or, if they were present or not, the way that they spoke to us, and all kinds of, things that may arise from our upbringing. And it's important to be aware of how that is affecting your present and how it's showing up.
Yeah.
And your decisions, your outlook, your views.
So what are some patterns that you ladies know, Steph and Aysha, what are some patterns you notice that in your life that's showing up that you want to, change, overcome?
Yeah, it's good to give an example so they know what patterns can look like.
Yeah. I'm laughing because before, when we were planning to record this episode, I was having a conversation with Aysha, and I was like, man, I have so many patterns. Which ones do I want to highlight on this episode? Well, one is burnout. I know a lot of you can relate to burnout, overworking, overgiving, overachieving, focusing on all the things, even like giving so much to other people and neglecting yourself in the process, and thinking that doing more will get you to your goals quicker. That has been a consistent theme and challenge for me for many, many years. And I would wonder, why am I going through these highs and lows in my life where one minute I have all this energy and then the next I'm like crashing, and then I don't want to do anything. I'm like, shutting down, and then I will go through that same cycle over and over. And it's because I didn't believe in rest days, that saying, no off days. Yeah. And I believed in that. Growing up, I saw my mom, she had 3 jobs and she was the provider of my family. And she was constantly working. So in my mind, because I saw that growing up, that's how I needed to be.
Yeah.
That I wanted to provide for my family. And so,
because it's what we learn, right? Like, what is the first way? So, Josie, I know you can validate this as a mother, like how do children learn? They repeat what you're doing. Like this, you'll say a word and they repeat it immediately, correct?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times our patterns aren't even our own. It's passed down actually from generations.
Well, and Josie, you had to learn to balance giving to yourself, honoring yourself at the same time, being an amazing mother that you are, and still and still be able to focus on your kids. Like I know there's a lot of moms out there that are struggling with that. Like, what's a good tip or advice that you can give these moms that are struggling with that balance?
Like the ladies were saying, it's really about we love our kids. We want to provide for them and love them and give them everything that they want, that they need, which is true of just love. They want love and attention. And, but they also see what you're doing on a daily basis. For me, I work really hard and they see that, but I also like to have those deep conversations, like, how are you feeling today? What's going on? And asking specific questions so they feel seen and heard, but then also stepping back and allowing them to see that I also take care of myself. Like, I also love myself. And yes, I love you, but I'm also going to follow my dreams and do what my heart desires because I'm aligned in my soul. And, it's just living for God, universe, because when you live through God and universe, like that is how you connect and reach the most people. And that's what they need to see.
And that's breaking the cycle of codependency. Codependency is a huge pattern that most people gain in their childhood, and then they carry that into their relationships. Our relationships is another big pattern, whether it's through codependency or you're attracting the same person. That's one of my patterns where I'm like, I look back at my partnerships or just the people I attract, and it's the same type of person. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so interesting. Like it is a pattern. And once you recognize it, you realize why, what is the root cause there? And how can I give myself what I am like attracting subconsciously, unconsciously? So then I can attract from a higher vibration. So I can attract a more aligned partner, correct? Another pattern of mine, I would say, would be people pleasing.
I think that's a big one for a lot of us. I'm the same.
And again, I feel like for me, that also stemmed from my childhood, wanting to please my mom, who, wasn't as emotionally available as I desire. What I need. I'm a very emotional person, very loving person. I want to look my sisters in the eyes, and the people I love, and my love language is physical touch. And so I didn't get so much of that. And to receive that, I thought I could manipulate the situation by people pleasing, by pleasing her, so then I can get what I desire. But really, it's manipulative.
Mhm.
and it doesn't serve me anymore. And I have to work at this every single day, because that's another thing. It's not just about the awareness. Once you're aware of patterns, you have to constantly work at them every day. I was telling you earlier, it's like addiction. Addiction is a very extreme form of a pattern, right? Alcoholism, other things. But once you're addicted, you can't just, I've been like sober for 10 years. Let me just take a little drink to celebrate. No, you're going to fall back right into it.
Mhm.
And so once you recognize your pattern, you have to consciously make the decision to break it and work at it every single day, and recognize it. Even if you fall back, recognize it that, damn, I'm people pleasing right now again. I'm trying to win this situation by manipulating it. And it's the same subconscious pattern, and it takes dedicated work every single day.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up a point too, going back to kind of adding on to what you were saying to Josie, with the burnout, like honoring you in the process. When you honor yourself, when you start with you, you're able to be more for those around you too.
Yes.
Right. So when you think that focusing on you is being selfish, it's actually not, because it creates a win-win for you and everybody else in your life.
Yes.
So when you're speaking about, just being able to have that beautiful balance, your kids are also receiving a happier mom.
Mhm. Thank you. Yes. Great point, Steph.
Yeah, and I wanted to and to point that out, because a lot of you may think that, oh, it's selfish if I think of myself, or taking care of myself. And for a lot of moms, and growing up, I saw that. I saw a lot of that, and so I know that it's challenging for you to give that time and honor that space for yourself, because of you think it's selfish or whatnot, but really it's not. It's everybody wins. And going back to what Aysha said about the people pleasing too, it's coming back to self. It's coming back to you, right?
Absolutely.
Breaking away from that. So there's that commonality of it all starts with you.
And it's for you. Breaking these patterns is for you, because when we don't recognize it, what that pattern may have been serving you in that childhood to keep you safe, it isn't keeping you safe anymore. For most people, it's not. And that's where healthy patterns can come in to replace that. Like, for example, with the people pleasing, I flipped that into, let me please myself first before I can, go out and interact and be with the world and be with my family, be with my friends, be with my clients, serve, give back. Let me give myself first. So then maybe I won't have to feel this lack and need it from others so much. We can recognize those patterns and replace them, because it is discipline and devotion and the rituals and routines it is good. It is good. It's needed in our lives. I mean, think about the seasons. Nature is cyclical. Like, there are patterns that are healthy, and then there are ones that are just not. And it's about recognizing what is serving you and what isn't.
I love how you said seasons, because when we recognize one pattern, it doesn't mean like, oh, yes, I have all the answers. I know myself and I won't face another pattern. Like, you'll notice different patterns showing up. Like, right now, I'm going through a lack mentality, and that's a pattern that I'm trying to overcome. A lack of money, I'll say. And what the funny thing is I make good money, but there's still a lack of not having enough. And what that comes from is like, love and money are actually connected. So, the love can be from a childhood memory. And, my parents got a divorce, and I was telling the girls this, like, I felt so loved. Like, even though my dad was in the Marines, he was away. So I didn't see him, and my mom was working 2 jobs. I felt so much love. I didn't need them there to tell me. I didn't need them there to give me a hug. I just felt it. But what I did feel is that maybe like a lack of emotional support in a way. And that kind of filters in to money, which is it's a connection. And so, you know, I think Aysha mentioned, or one of the ladies, going back into the shadow work and really discovering like where is that lack coming from and how do you overcome that? So I just had to share that as well.
No, that's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Different patterns will show up in different seasons, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And the moon too, I was just thinking of more patterns that we see in life. And as women, you know, we are cyclical beings. We have a cycle within our bodies even. And it's so good to know where cycles and patterns are serving you and not. Like same thing with your period. You could be you could be completely disconnected from your body and then have no idea what's going on. And you're just kind of like at this like responsive place where you're just like responding to whatever is happening and you don't know. Or you could be conscious of like, oh, my period has like 4 different weeks. I have different energetic levels. I can track my cycles. Nothing's going to catch me off guard. Oh, you know, this week I'm about to get my period. It's the week before my period. Let me rest and give myself that grace. And those two weeks are slower. And then the 2 weeks after your period, your energies are higher. Let me get more work done. Let me have a content day. Let me catch up on my schoolwork, on my work, whatever it is. Knowing when these patterns are serving you and not, it can change. It can make your life so much easier.
Yeah, and honoring those seasons too, like knowing when you need to take a break, because we all need to take a break. There's no such thing as go, go, go. Eventually that's going to catch up to you, as it did for me. And knowing to just connect and having that awareness of what do I need, and asking yourself. Sometimes you just got to say it out loud. What do I need? And being able to honor that. And that goes back to our episode on like masculine and feminine energy. It's like honoring that. Like we have both energies that coexist within us, right? And sometimes the feminine will dominate in certain seasons and sometimes the masculine. But knowing that it's a dance between the two and being able to dance between the two. Yes. So I love what you said, Aysha, about the seasons, because we will go through seasons and that's completely normal. I know before I used to think like it was an imbalance, but now that I have more of a conscious awareness of like, yeah, both is important, that I'm able to embrace both.
Another pattern I just thought about, and this one it's a hard one. It's self-sabotage.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Just vibrating at the same vibe.
And what does that mean, self-sabotage?
Oh, self-sabotage for me, the way I've experienced it has been, you know, if I've ever experienced some sort of pain or hurt, I will try to control that situation. Like I'll hurt myself or like sabotage a situation before it sabotages me. What a Scorpio way of looking at it. But that's a way I will self-sabotage. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna, you know, connect with this person or opportunity because what if it just doesn't work out anyway? So let me you kind of block your blessings. You're kind of blocking your blessings. And really it's coming from a fear of getting hurt. Yeah. So you just hurt yourself before an other does.
It's definitely coming from a place of fear, pain because of past experiences,
traumas,
conditionings, old patterns, what continues to show up, and you just get conditioned to create those same type of experiences, even though you think on a conscious level, like I don't want this to happen, but there's some sort of comfort in that. And it's almost like taking the easy way out. It's what you're comfortable with. Like, for example, like, in relationships, I would always be the first to dip out. Like I'm done. If
that runner.
Yes. Yeah. I've never been, I'm gonna knock on wood. So in intimate relationships, I would always be the one to be the dumper versus the dumpy being, I've always been the one to break up with my partner because, you know, if we got in a fight or, you know, something wasn't going according to what I envisioned the relationship to be, that I would just be done, and I would just take myself away from being in that situation. And yeah, it's fear of being abandonment issues.
Yeah, that runner chaser and the abandonment also reminds me of like isolation, right? How many of us, especially now with social media and ever since the pandemic, like isolation has become like a huge part of our lives, more than ever before. And we self-isolate from communities to the point where it's damaging, right? It's not serving. So how do we get to serving ourselves again and breaking these patterns and moving forward
to new patterns, creating new patterns in our life that we actually want?
This is a good one because, like I said, I'm going through this right now, the lack mentality. For me, I'm listening to abundance meditations. So, you know, I feel abundance in my life, and I'm constantly thinking about the I'll just say for my journal, for example, like my journal that I've been working on, there's something that I'm self-sabotaging myself that I haven't finished it. And so actually like visualizing the way that my journal looks, because in that visualization, I already have it. It's already there. Like that's breaking the patterns. But then also like journaling what is coming up. And if nothing comes to my mind as to like what the pattern is, I'll continue to ask myself, like, why am I feeling this way? What's coming up? Why? Until I get to like the root cause of the pattern. And if I don't come to it, I don't come to it. You know, I'll just continue to journal on it. But those are some things that I'm doing currently to get over that lack mentality.
For me, I would say it's like this balancing act again, where it's like every time a pattern comes up, like I will, for example, with people pleasing, I'm like, okay, I'm noticing I'm doing this again. How can I balance this with the act of self-love? Like clearly I'm needing something outside of myself. Instead of doing that, let me just take a moment to myself. And just it's like that countering that the negative pattern to, okay, bring attention and focus to the one I'm creating. So you're countering it until you're a place where the one you're letting go of, you're getting farther and farther away from, and you're getting closer and closer to your new reality, your new pattern. And so you manifest the new one. But again, this takes a lot of conscious effort, like every single day, constantly, right? They say it takes like 60 days to form a new habit.
Yeah. I was thinking while you were talking, replacing old habits with new habits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And continuing to honor yourself and take care of yourself, you're able to connect more with you. And when you're more connected to you, you're able to recognize these patterns within yourself on a conscious level. So I know that through my healing journey, as I continue to prioritize healing and holding that mirror, and it's uncomfortable as heck, like you know, and
say that again.
It's uncomfortable, like really holding that mirror and be like, okay, like let's face these wounds and these traumas, you know. And obviously I want to create a different story and new patterns. And so I get to look internally, like how am I creating these patterns over and over and over, and really like looking at the shadow aspect of it, and taking responsibility, accountability of how I am continuing to show up to attract these certain things, these certain partners, the same partners, you know, the same results, the same things that continue to show up. You know, I had to admit I was the common denominator in all of that.
Oof. Woo.
Mic drop. And recognizing that I was a common denominator and that I wanted to make a change. And so that's the first step, really, is is really honoring yourself and spending alone time. I feel like is important too, because when you are spending time alone, you're not distracting. You're able to notice what is
work on the patterns.
Yeah, you're able to get into that kapha, noticing these patterns within yourself. Typically happens when you are when you're by yourself, with no distractions. So that's important to really honor that time, that alone time, and to really heal and do the work.
Because a lot of it is coming from our subconscious, and you do need that internal work, that time within yourself, the journaling time, the time to cry, to sit with the root of it, right? Because we're gonna break them at the root, because you just take the plant out, take its root out. You just take it out, put it aside, and bring in the new plant, the new seed.
It's like when you go to the hospital, right? You go to the doctors, right? There's something, you're not feeling well, right? And you go to the doctors and they give you medication. You're just putting a Band-Aid. You're not really getting to the root cause of the issue. And the goal really is to figure out what is the root cause, so it doesn't continue. You don't continue to feel, the way that you are feeling, and to continue feeling sick, but to actually get to the root cause and solve that. So that
it's like the definition of insanity. What do they say, right? It's like
things.
You do the same thing expecting different results.
Yeah.
You cannot manifest differently if you are repeating the same patterns. Yeah.
And for our listeners, we want to know, what is a continued pattern that you have noticed that is consistently showing up in your life? Please share in the comments. And actually, we're going to do a little drawing. So for those of you that share what patterns are consistently showing up, we are going to enter you into a drawing where we're going to select a name and give you a complimentary coaching session. And this is a way for us to give you the gift of healing.
Healing, guidance, support, whatever you need to serve you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So please share in the comments, and we will select a winner. And we'll select the winner by January 11th.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, that is a wrap, ladies. Do we have any last words? Anything that we want to give our listeners?
Just remember to give yourself grace, because all this inner work, remember that you are a divine self just as you are, and you're doing the work, and being aware. It takes a lot of courage. And, like I said, just give yourself grace and the love that you deserve.
Beautiful. And remember, everyone has patterns. Everyone has patterns.
I just want to say, I love you guys. I love you too so much. And I love everybody who is doing this inner work. When we serve ourselves, we serve our neighbor, we serve our community, our family, our friends, the consciousness of the collective, the entire planet, the universe. So one by one, we heal together.
Yes. And it starts with you. So the way that we can heal humanity is healing ourselves. So always look from internal, start with you, go make that difference. And remember to find what makes your soul loud. And if you want to connect with us further, you can find us on Instagram. We got way too excited. Follow us on Instagram.
Really excited.
Yes. Follow us on Instagram at the Soulful Podcast, and our individual handles at Soul Glow Coaching,
Divine Self by Josie,
Flow with Aysha.
Until next time.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into this episode. If you enjoy this episode, please like, share, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. If you resonated with this episode or found inspiration through our message, we would greatly appreciate your 5-star review. This podcast is made for you, our listeners, and we value your feedback. If there is a topic you would like us to speak on, please send us an email at the Soulful Podcast at gmail.com or send us a DM at the Soulful Podcast on Instagram. Both will be listed in our show notes. You can also follow us at our individual Instagram handles at The Divine Self by Josie, Flow with Aysha, and Soul Glow Coaching. We hope we raise your energetic vibration today, and we look forward to catching you on our next episode. Till next time, remember to find what makes your soul flow.